We all know the mantra of our age, the mantra you must believe if you want to hold any form of political office or be a CEO of any major company. That, of course, is that diversity is our strength. If I, as an average British citizen, has the temerity to even question the wisdom of this, I'm immediately seen as an evil, deplorable bigot, someone who's simply full of hate and anger and not welcome in modern Britain. This always gives me pause for thought because I've stated before, I'm a Christian, and as Christians we're not called to hate anybody, we're called to love. And after much contemplation, I've come to the conclusion that it's not the traditional conservative Christians who don't understand what love is, but the modern day progressives. Love doesn't mean opening your borders to anybody who wants to come here and then yelling at the inhabitants already here that they're pure evil if they have a problem with it. Love, in the Christian understanding of the word, is compassion, yes, but it's also justice and truth and rationality. That's why I've come to believe that cultures are best off in the stewardship of their rightful owners. That breeds stability, strength in a people, and prosperity long into the future. This doesn't mean I hate people from other countries, I wish them well. It simply means it's important to maintain the stability in your own. However, that doesn't mean I'm completely averse to immigration. In manageable numbers, and if people are willing to integrate, it's okay. However, we're far from that in this day and age. What we have now is a mass immigration which is completely decimating the host culture, and in a matter of decades could see indigenous people, minorities, in their own countries. There's nothing ethical or loving about that. However, it's compounded by the fact that we're not even allowed an opinion on who's coming here. What I mean by this is, while it made many on the right angry, and I would prefer immigration to be minimal rather than maximal, when there was a big fuss that we might have an influx from Hong Kong, I have to say I wasn't nearly as bothered by that. The Hong Kong people seemed to me to be Christian, they seemed to wave the UK flag, they seemed to be patriotic, and as a people, whenever I've come across them in the UK, they seem to be polite, mind their own business, and hard workers. So does it make me evil and hateful to imagine myself looking for a lodger, say, and I have a choice between Hong Kong and Pakistan? Isn't it normal to think which one is going to integrate themselves better at the home? Which one of them is going to be more likeable, more polite, more peaceful and law-abiding? Now I can almost hear screaming through the screen any liberal who stumbled on this video shouting, "How dare you assume Pakistanis are less law-abiding than Hong Kongers?" Well, simply it's just because of lots of terror attacks, grooming gangs, and because, well, the data says so. And more broadly, what is it exactly that Islam is supposed to bring to the UK that makes me so evil and blind not to notice? I mean, the food is one thing progressives say a lot, but as Douglas Murray has pointed out in the past, you only need 1 or 2 Muslims to come over and introduce their food, not 4 million of them. I suppose the next argument would be they bring vitality to the economy, start new businesses, and henceforth the government can tax them more. However, as a new report from the Centre for Policy Studies written by former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick stated, large-scale migration has not delivered significant growth in GDP per capita and has increased the strain on our capital stock from roads and GP surgeries to housing. Further to that, net migration accounts for around 89% of the 1.34 million increase in England's housing deficit. And now let's look at some of the negatives we've experienced. Well, obviously, terror attacks is the big one. Over 100 have been killed since we've had Islamic immigration here, many more maimed, as well as a climate of fear spreading around modern society. On top of that, we've lost many of our towns and cities, places like Bradford, Luton, Leicester, and so forth. And what about if multiculturalism doesn't work? What about if many Muslims don't believe in the magic pill of diversity and actually just want Islam to govern their lives in the country? Yeah, perhaps the one that we see the most is the simple day-to-day changes. On your screen, you're seeing some ladies waiting at a supermarket, scrambling for the goods there in a way that just isn't really in the spirit of British queuing and waiting your turn. Here's a man just dumping a load of rubbish in a random place. Something, unfortunately, you'll find is quite common in Pakistan if you look at these pictures of rivers on your screen now. And finally, here are some drivers in the aforementioned Bradford, utilising some of the ways of life from their home country. And in a way, you can't even really blame them for this because they've been told by the state to not integrate into British norms and culture, that their ways are somehow elite and better than ours, and they must keep them alive while pouring scorn on ours at every turn. Yet if you could get this far with the progressive and say, look, the cost-benefit analysis isn't really in favour of this mass immigration, they would then just say, well, you're inhumane, and try and virtue signal by showing that they're better than you by welcoming such people. Yet is it really humane to keep this policy in place, or is it just stroking the egos of the globalist elites and the woke narcissistic morons? On top of that, are we actually saving these people from the third world, or are we becoming the third world? Further, I've never been sure about Islam and the Diversity Project simply because Islam is a totalizing religion. It says that on the tin, that's exactly what it's always been. Further to that, they don't seem so keen on diversity in the Middle East when they force Indians to build their buildings for pittance, nor in Libya where they were chasing out black people recently. Not to mention while they lecture you on how inhumane and evil you are, the Pakistanis kicked out 1.7 million of their brother Afghanis recently. Yet the real giveaway is the Diversity and Inclusion Commissar Sadiq Khan. Remember, he's as progressive as a Muslim gets.
The other big issue faced in London, is particularly London is of Islamic faith, is the issue of housing. And so we need to build far more homes in our city because often people from minority communities want to live near a mosque, near halal food, near places where there are other people like them. So they for a variety of obvious reasons.
And what reasons would they be, Sadiq? You want us to build more homes for Muslims so they can be next to each other and all of the amenities they need as Muslims. If I said I want to build homes for English people to be next to each other to give me all the amenities English people need, I'd be called a neo-fascist who's not welcome in modern Britain.
Londoners who are Muslim is, look, one of our strengths is our diversity. It's something I'm really proud of. I've organised, since I've been mayor, events like Eid in the Square, Ramadan Nights and so forth.
So there you have it. Diversity is our strength. To someone like Sadiq Khan means I'll have my own ethno-nationalist enclave within the broader rubric of modern Britain, and if you say anything about that, you're the evil racist one. So in essence, this tolerance, inclusion, love thing is just a con for competing groups to get more political power. The second they get full power, they won't be so interested in it. And it's only kept alive by woke progressives who don't have to deal with the policies that they're putting into place. It's just so they can feel more moral than you about themselves. Don't ever let these people manipulate you into believing they're somehow more tolerant and loving than you are. Quite simply, they're just acting in their own interests. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know yours down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.